Servus Leute, willkommen zu einem neuen Video von der SHOT Show 2025. Hier auf dem Stand von Heckler Koch bin ich gemeinsam mit dem James. Thank you James for your time.
Oh, my pleasure.
Ja. Und James ist von HK USA und wir werden uns jetzt ein paar Produkte anschauen, die es hier auf der SHOT Show neu gibt. Das bedeutet für euch, die zuschauen aus Europa, dass nicht alle Produkte überhaupt für uns verfügbar sein werden, aber man wird sehen. Ja. Wir werden jetzt einfach mal abdecken, was es hier generell Neues gibt von HK USA und dann noch ein paar Spezialsachen anschauen, die es wirklich nur für den USA-Markt gab. Und da wird uns James mehr dazu sagen. Für die, die ihn noch nicht kennen, James ist auch unter Instagram Teufels und Tactical sehr bekannt. Also einfach mal reinschauen, da ist wirklich sehr viel interessanter Heckler Koch Content für alle HK-Fanboys. So, James, it's a pleasure to have you here on our channel. What can you tell us about these new pistols?
Sure. So we have the new CC9, which is our U.S. commercial micro compact. Here in the U.S., micro compacts have become all the rage. They're the biggest seller every year for us. So for H&K USA, we now have an entry into this. It's a 9mm platform, and what we really wanted to focus on were three categories: being shootable, reliable, and concealable. The challenges that we've had with micro compacts usually is that due to size, you couldn't get your hands on them right. You had a hard time fitting yourself around there. Couldn't get to the controls right, or they were really snappy in recoil, or they didn't hold up to long use endurance. So with this pistol, we've really focused on those areas. We really made a dedicated effort on studying the kinematics of continuous recoil and eliminating what you usually see in guns this size and of this weight, where when you fire it, the slide goes all the way back. It makes a hard impact. That's the snappiness. Our dual recoil system really eliminates that. It's a very flat shooting and controllable weapon. Fully ambidextrous controls with your slide release and your push button mag release that works from either side. You have a 10 or a 12 round magazine, and then we have adjustable back straps that come with two models, a standard, and as you can see here, a large, which increases the length of pull between the back of your hand and your trigger finger to get proper placement on the top of the trigger. You can see it comes standard with a tritium front sight and a blacked out rear, and they're optics ready. Moving your plate, you can mount your optic of choice.
Oh, that's nice, yeah.
Here for the U.S. market, we offer an optics equipped model that comes with a hollow sun optic already installed and zeroed for the weapon that sits low enough to allow the iron sights to co-witness through the base.
All right. Well, let me try the trigger on that gun. So I'm always curious about triggers when the guns are released. So schauen wir mal, wie sich der anfühlt. Also es ist ein Safe-Action-artiger Abzug mit einer extra Sicherung hier. Also man kann nicht abdrücken, ohne dass man hier bewusst auf dieses Mittelzüngel draufdrückt. Dann hat man hier einen Druckpunkt und er kommt dann. Ja. Und Reset ist ein bisschen ein Reset, aber nicht zu lang. Und dann ist man wieder auf den Druckpunkt drauf. Also an sich ein ganz guter Abzug, vor allem für die Größe der Waffe, Concealed Carry Waffe, nicht so schlecht. So, that's a new release for this year in terms of pistols, or is there something else as well? Like
yes. So we've also updated the VP9 series into the VP9A1. Those are available in two different sizes. We have a VP9K and a VP9F. The VP9F replaces the original VP9. It's the same size receiver and 17 round magazine, but now it's slightly longer in the slide and barrel. So it gives us the ability to have more of a duty-sized pistol or somebody who's getting into competition use, whereas the K replaces the VP9 SK, or our subcompact model. It has the same slide length and barrel length as the original VP9, so it'll work in all those original holsters. But now we have a slightly shorter length than the original VP9, but slightly longer length than the VP9K. It allows us to get our whole hand around the weapon. This uses a 15 round magazine, whereas the full-size VP9F uses a 17 round magazine. The other enhancements for the VP9A1 series are we've changed the slide serrations to match the Kampfschwimmer model that's available in Germany.
Model,
We've increased all of the textures on all of the interface points, so they're expanded a little bit easier to grip. You change the reference points here on the slide now, so when I come off the trigger, my finger knows where I am, or when I build my grip, my thumb is supported there. We removed the trigger finger grooves there on the front strap. We still have available left and right side panels in small, medium, and large, as well as small, medium, and large at the rear. But we also have now included a medium and a large extended that come up in the beaver tail. And just like they did on the CC9, it's designed to increase the length of pull and put the pad of your finger right on the bottom of the trigger. And then at the base, we've now flared the magazine well. And on the standard size magazines, we've changed the base plate to now allow you to get in here, and if you had a malfunction stoppage, you can grip and rip onto that magazine place. Internally, all of the new VP9A1 series pistols have one change, and that is a nickel Teflon coated trigger bar, and this is going to decrease the friction and allow a smoother and lighter trigger break and a more responsive reset. Those are the changes that we've made to the VP9A1 series, again available in the F and the K.
Is it kind of backwards compatible for the older VP9, like in terms of magazine and the backstrap?
So the backstrap is obviously a new feature, but yes, those are compatible. The magazines are all cross-compatible, so you can use the 17-round mags you've had before. It'll just stick out a little bit on the shorter length. All of the internal pieces of the weapon are all the same except for that nickel Teflon coated trigger bar, so those carry over. And again, your holsters will work the same for the K as original VP9. If you have a VP9 F, you would just want to make sure you had a holster that was open on the end or wasn't crimped off.
That's nice. Also VP9, VP9 A1. Die VP9 ist generell das US-Modell der SFP9 und die VP9 ist jetzt in dieser Variante auch geupdatet worden. Also es sind ja einige Neuerungen, so wie er vorher schon erzählt hat. Also in puncto Ergonomie und Bedienung ist ja einiges verbessert worden, kann man sagen. Hier auch die Durchladerillen von der Maritim-Variante sind hier dazugefügt worden, dass die Waffe einfach ein bisschen geupdatet worden ist. Und es ist natürlich rückwärtskompatibel. Diese Waffe ist aktuell nur für den US-Markt bestimmt. Ob es die irgendwann einmal als SFP9 A1 bei uns in Europa auch geben wird, kann man jetzt noch nicht sagen. Es ist eventuell anzunehmen, aber das wird man einfach sehen mit der Zeit. So, pistol-wise, we are covered, but I think there's also something very interesting in terms of rifles.
Yes,
sir. Right, let's check that one out.
Yep.
So James, what can you tell us about these new rifles? The MR556A4 is quite similar to the MR223 we have in Europe, but for the US it's quite unique because few of these features which are on that gun, they're not like weren't available until today, right?
Exactly. So when we originally released the HK416 in the US commercial market, there was a demand for a similar weapon, and we'd released the MR556A1. Over the years, H&K had continued to update the HK416, as you've seen with all the A variants. The A5 was the most significant update change. In Europe, you got the MR223A3, which gave you most of those configurations. We didn't get that here in the US market. We've been wanting that ever since. So what we've got that is now with our MR556A4. So if you think about all of the updates on the HK416A5, they've carried over. Starts here with the A5 slimline buttstock. It's elongated reinforced castle nut. We now have an end plate with a QD attachment point. And then on the receiver, you get full ambidextrous controls here on the charging handle, bolt release and magazine release, and selector. This is now the 45-degree throw selector lever. You get the winter trigger guard. You get the new ergonomic grip. We get the change to the magazine well, where on the original 416 it was more flat. But we had issues with other companies who were making magazines that wouldn't fit with that, so we've gone back to an angled one that allows all AR-15 pattern magazines to work. We've got a spring detent behind the rear takedown pin that puts pressure on it, takes out the slop on the upper and lower receiver, increasing accuracy. On the top, you've got a full-length Picatinny rail. We've increased the length here at the rear, and we've removed the gap that was there in the center brake, so now there's full capability to mount anywhere along that rim. Slimline M-lock handguard with positions at the 3, 6, and 9 o'clock, and QD attachment points on either side. And then the big deal here is the adjustable gas regulator. This allows you to optimize your weapon for performance, whether you're running suppressed or unsuppressed, just by flipping that lever. Still has cold hammer forged barrel with increased accuracy potential over our competitors. and it has all of the over-the-beach features that we've seen on the 416. So the drain holes in the buffer tube, in the bolt carrier, and the detent pin that holds the extractor and prevents it from blowing out if you had water in the barrel. This is available in our 16.5-inch barrel length for 5.56 as well as 7.62, and we've also offered it in 11-inch pistol variant within the U.S. commercial market. Allows it to be bought as a pistol, and they can fill out the required paperwork with the government and add on the stock to make a short-barreled rifle. We're also offering complete upper receiver kits in both 11-inch and 5.56 variants. So if you bought the 5.56 rifle standard, I could then also buy this complete kit, and I can swap those two out, or vice versa. We also have it in that length.
Ja. Also die MR556 A4 ist jetzt halt für den US-Markt die geupdatete Variante der zivilen HK416, und sie war früher als MR556 verfügbar, und mit der A4-Variante haben die Amerikaner jetzt auch diese ganzen Features, die wir schon eigentlich haben bei der MR223, wie die beidseitige Bedienung, Slimline-Hinterschaft. Was die amerikanische Variante jetzt noch einmal anders hat wie die europäische, ist dieser M-Lock-Handschutz, der schon ab Werk dabei ist. Und wir haben hier auch einen verstellbaren Gasblock, der wirklich ganz cool ist. Wenn man speziell auch mit Schalldämpfer schießen möchte, eignet sich der dann ganz gut. Und dann sehe ich hier auch einen etwas vergrößerten Durchladehebel hinten und hier auch eine 45-Grad-Sicherung. Und das ist halt quasi für den US-Markt jetzt die Neuerung. Das Gewehr so in dieser Variante MR556 A4 gibt es auch nicht auf dem europäischen Markt. Es gibt diesen Handguard in einer etwas abgeänderten Variante schon zum Nachrüsten in Europa. Aber ja, dabei ist das jetzt speziell für den US-Markt vorgestellt worden. Ob das dann für die MR223 in Europa dann auch mehr oder weniger schrittweise nachgeupdatet wird, wird sich dann auch zeigen. Und ja, muss man einfach nur abwarten. Aber das ist jetzt eben für den US-Markt auch eine wirklich ganz coole Neuerung, und damit entspricht dieses Gewehr schon etwas mehr also dem neueren 416 Vorbild. So, since we covered these guns as well, and since we exclusively more or less have you on the channel as an H&K expert for US H&K stuff, I would also like to talk about few specific rifles which are more or less only available for the US market.
Yeah, let's go over there and take a look.
Und das ist jetzt wirklich super spannend, weil wir ihn jetzt auf dem Programm haben, kann er uns nämlich die M110 A1 zeigen. Das ist dieses ganz spezielle SDMR-Gewehr,
Guys, if I can, we got a YouTube channel here. We're going to film a quick video.
DMR-Gewehre gewonnen hat gegenüber dem Knights Armament-Gewehr. Und das ist das hier da unten.
So we're going to showcase
und das auch.
These models.
Yeah.
And I'll hold this one up, and then
Sure.
we'll work on the CSAS.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what do we have here? Like the M27.
M27. So this is it's an HK 416 that was modified to meet the United States Marine Corps contract for a new infantry automatic rifle.
Yeah.
It has since been adopted to replace all of their infantry weapons. So they replace their M16s, their M4 carbines with this model, or a slight configuration change of this. And then we have the SDMR, which is in service with the Army and the Air Force as a squad designated marksman rifle.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So basically the concept of that gun was to kind of not replace a squad automatic weapon, but in a way like have an infantry carbine being capable of doing that high kind of rate of fire.
So in the Marine Corps, there's been a long debate about whether or not they need an infantry automatic rifle, meaning magazine fed, or they want a light machine gun.
Yeah.
For years, the Marine Corps and the U.S. Army had the M249 SAW, the FN Minimi.
Yeah.
But we had some challenges with it. And once we got into the global war on terror, fighting in Iraq and Afghanistan, and a lot of confined spaces and distributed operations where much smaller units were having to do close quarters work, having a belt-fed light machine gun and having to be the number 2 guy making entry into a room wasn't as ideal. So the Marine Corps decided they wanted to go with an infantry automatic rifle. Heckler & Koch responded by taking their original 416 design and making slight modifications. They provided a 16.5-inch barrel model with a slight change to the gas block in order to provide a better range of high and low temperature performance with their rate of fire. And then they added all of the accessory options that you see here that really came out of the Marine Corps' supply system they already had. So your laser aiming device was what they already had in contact. This bipod and the backup sights were out of their sniper program. The grip here was off the special operations kit. They took optics that they already had in their system, and this was put into inventory initially to replace the squad automatic weapon within each squad. So 3 of these weapons assigned in each squad. This contract was later adapted so that the Marine Corps could replace all their M16s and M4s wide. They created a similar model that has a suppressor and a different optic, became a detonated marksman rifle within the squad level. And then within the reconnaissance community, not only do they receive this, but they have that same 11-inch upper receiver kit with adjustable gas regulator now. We call it the Recon upper kit.
Yeah.
So this has been in service with the Marine Corps now for probably about 10, 15 years. Been very well received.
Yeah.
What you see up top here, this is the M110A1 or SDMR, Squad Designated Marksman Rifle. This came out of a contract requirement for the U.S. Army. They took H&K's G28, which you guys are familiar with in Europe, but they had to do lightweight savings on there. So they changed from a steel upper receiver to an aluminum one. We cut weight wherever you can see they've milled off the little fencing around the bolt. They even, you can't see it here, but if you looked inside and looked at the barrel nut, it's actually got holes drilled all through it for weight savings. Added in different accessories like the Huxworks flow-through suppressor design, Geisley handguard, and optic mount and a Geisley trigger inside. It is now issued within the U.S. Army and Special Operations community, and effectively giving their units the ability to reach out and engage targets at a much greater range they could with their 5.56 equivalent weapons.
Is this gun kind of a replacement of the original M110 from Knight's Armament?
It is. So there were challenges. Originally, the concept was from the U.S. Army sniper community. They were looking for a lighter weight, more compact version of that weapon. And that was what H&K originally responded with. When it got to the point of actually receiving the funding for the project, the larger U.S. Army said, hey, this looks like a really good idea. We'd like to also employ it within our infantry squads. And that's where it got expanded into become the Squad Designated Marksman Rifle.
It's a very cool gun. So overall, we have like a 16-inch.
16.3-inch barrel.
Okay. Yeah.
It has all the same types of features as what we've shown you, except this one does not have the adjustable gas regulator. That was a specific request. Instead, they tuned it for the ammunition and the system that that HK provided for the contract, so they didn't need the ability to switch between one or the other.
Das Ganze ist hier auch leichter gemacht worden, also wir haben hier auch gar keine Forward Assist. Das hier ist beim Hülsenabweiser auch noch ein bisschen leichter gemacht worden, ausgefräst. Hier das Fencing vom Verschlussfang. Und die Waffe wiegt echt nicht viel. Also für das, was da alles verbaut ist, ist die ziemlich leicht. Hier auch mit 45 Grad Backup-Visierung. Die M110 A1. Spannend, sehr spannendes Gewehr. Kriegt man eigentlich gar nicht zu sehen, außer man ist zufällig hier am Heckler Koch Stand auf der Shotshow. Und das ist eine echt coole Waffe, eben mit viel Geschichte, genauso wie das hier. Und vielleicht auch ganz cool einmal zu hören, den Hintergrund von diesem ganzen Projekt und dem Projekt von einem wirklichen Heckler Koch Experten. Und das ist ganz cool. Ich hoffe, es hat euch gefallen. So, thank you, James, for your time. Really appreciate it. Yep. And yeah, the audience of Germany and Austria and all the other countries which are watching, they also appreciate your information and insights on these specific programs. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Ja. Also, das war's hier auf dem Stand von Heckler Koch, Shotshow 2025. Wir schauen gleich weiter zu den nächsten Ständen und seid gespannt, was wir euch dann noch so zeigen. Da haben wir jetzt die neuen Heckler Koch Waffen für 2025 für den US-Zivilmarkt. MR762 A4 mit M-Lock-Handschutz, verstellbarem Gasblock. MR556 A4, auch ganz nett. Das Ganze auch als Short Barrel Rifle. Das ist echt ganz lässig. Gibt es aktuell nur für den US-Markt.
Was ist das?
Das ist ein MG5, glaube ich. Hier HK 121 Maschinengewehr.
Dickes Ding.
Ja, auf jeden Fall.